pledge allegiance to the flag
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Sorry about that. May 4th, this is our virtual town meeting. Please bear with us. This is new, so if we might miss a couple of things in the beginning. The next virtual planning commission meeting will be Tuesday, May 5th at 7:30. The virtual town council meeting the next one will be Monday, May 18th, and that'll be at 7:30. And the next town council meeting will be Monday, June the 1st, and hopefully that will not be virtual. Hopefully that'll be here. Before we start our meeting items, the mayor is going to make an announcement. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it, and other commissioners. Due to the COVID-19, tonight's meeting is a virtual meeting. I am joined here at the town office by Commission President Sweeney, Town Manager Willits, Town Clerk Matty Shaw. Commissioners O'Donnell, Ritz, Davis, and Burns are joining us via Zoom in, but they have noted themselves as present. Very quickly, the statistics for Maryland are that 26,406 cases, 1,218 deaths. Frederick County is 1,338 cases, 55 deaths. The 21727 zip code, our zip code, has 14 confirmed cases. As I've noted before, the Health Department, HIPAA Act, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, federal law restricts the access to individual private medical information. Please be patient, as this is our first town meeting via Zoom. Our staff has worked hard in preparing for this meeting. Please email at info@emmitsburgmd.gov, info@emmitsburgmd.gov if you are experiencing problems accessing the meeting. We have received calls regarding the time of our utility bills. The utility bills were originally scheduled to be mailed out on March 30th. At that time, people were losing their jobs and fearful of the virus. Myself and the town staff did not feel it was right to add any additional financial or emotional burdens by sending out utility bills at that time. The bills will be mailed out on May 18th, that's May 18th, and will be due back June 24th. Please look for a letter from us regarding payment options. We do have options. I encourage you to sign up the email newsletter at info@emmitsburg.gov, emmitsburgmd.gov. The reduced staffing hours for the town, as well as our public works and water works, have been extended through the month of May. I anticipate being fully operational by June 1st. I'm sorry, Mike. I think things will improve and resume normal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we'll go on to our meeting items. Approval of meeting minutes for March the 2nd, 2020. Has everybody seen the meeting minutes and read through them? Commissioners?
Yes.
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 Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from March 2nd as presented.
Motion's been made by Commissioner O'Donnell. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Burns. Is there any discussion? Anything added?
No.
Alrighty, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. I imagine we're not having the police report tonight. I don't see him here.
No.
Town managers report?
Okay, I have two managers' reports, and I'll go by month and just highlight some of the key areas. The first report is from February of 2020, related to streets. The staff unclogged a storm drain inlet on Irishtown Court, cold patched some potholes around town, as well as continuing all the monthly street sweepings and repairing of street lights and street signs. In the parks, outside of their daily checks and monthly park maintenance, staff unclogged a storm drain inlet in Community Park and cleaned the weeds out of the garden plots in Community Park. For both months, February and March, Rainbow Lake is still at the 16.6 feet spillway level. Water production in February produced an average of 276,034 gallons per day and consumed 236,929 gallons per day, which is the equivalent of 15.5%, or 15.5% for backwash water. In February, we purchased 408,400 gallons of water from Mount St. Mary's. At the wastewater treatment plant, we received 3 inches of precipitation in February. We currently have a deficit of only 0.2 inches over the last 6 months. For the wastewater, we treated an average of 668,000 gallons per day and consumed 236,929 gallons per day. The equivalent is 65% was wild water. Again, this was in February. We had no spills of untreated sewage in February, but we did exceed the plant's design capacity 2 times in the month of February. Below that are highlighted some of the meetings and conference calls that I attended in the month of February. Some noteworthy items. Staff installed the new drop box at the rear of the community center building. They assisted the contractor with the installation of the new water service at 9371 Waynesboro Pike, as well as boring the water pipe under Waynesboro Pike. The sewer relining project was completed in February, and we're seeing very good results at the wastewater treatment plant. MDE conducted an inspection at the wastewater treatment plant. We had 1 reporting issue due to the incorrect reporting by the lab, but everything's been corrected. For water, well number 3 is shut off. Number 4 and 5 were brought on. Well number 4 has better alkalinity. And staff has received their test kits to keep the water balanced. For March, in streets, staff put up the census signs under the Welcome to Emmitsburg and trimmed some trees along North School Lane outside the standard testing or cleaning and repairs that they do. Related to parks, the daily checks, the monthly park maintenance, staff assisted Commissioner Davis with a lot of work on the ball fields. Ball field mix on fields 4, 5, 6, and 7, repairs to the concession stands, repaired the scoreboard at ball field number 7. We have received from at least one league that they are still interested in playing. They're just going to push their season out with hopefully a June or July start. Staff prepped the pool house for the mural painting. Contractor installed new pole lights and camera at the new playground. New decking on the community park walking bridge. Staff closed many of the areas of the parks per Governor Hogan's order. Contractor completed the tree trimming project along the community park walking trail. And contractor installed the new street light for pool parking. Water production, we produced 247,595 gallons per day and consumed 248,603 gallons per day, which was the equivalent of 11.9% backwash water, which is a very good number for backwash. We purchased 439,370 gallons from the Mount. At the wastewater treatment plant, we received 3.8 inches of precipitation. We are currently at a deficit of only 0.1 inches over the last 6 months. We treated 573 gallons per day and consumed 248,603 gallons per day, which means 57% of the wastewater treated was wild water. No spills of untreated sewage, and we did exceed the plant's design capacity 1 time in the month of March. Trash pickup. Trash pickup will remain Mondays in the month of May, except for May 25th, which is Memorial Day. Trash will be picked up on Tuesday, May 26th. In March, I highlighted some of the meetings and conference calls I attended, and just to highlight, during this COVID-19 shutdown, beginning on March 19th, I've met with or spoken with the mayor every single day, and that continues as long as that we are in this current state. Noteworthy, water usage is down to the Waynesboro Pike waterline repair and the leak discovered at the Mother Seaton School. Repaired flows have been approximate 175 to 180 million gallons per day. The flows are down to 20 to 25 gallons per night, and this has not happened since the old plant was in operation. The LG Sonic was deployed in Rainbow Lake on April 28th. Due to the COVID-19, staff has stocked up on all the chemicals at the wastewater treatment plant and water treatment plant, and we've been monitoring the guidance from EPA and MDE during this crisis as well. Hydrants were due to be flushed in April. However, they will be delayed until normal staffing resumes. The bridge project is basically complete. However, they have a few punch-out items, including our water main is in the proposed bioswale and is very shallow. This is not acceptable, so the contractor and SHA are investigating and coming up with a solution. The grinder pump at the pumping station clogged just prior to the inlet valve, and the culprit was a large ball of rags and wipes. This is a problem that all municipalities are experiencing right now. All public water systems, wastewater systems are being clogged due to the toilet paper crisis or shortage. We encourage you to please not flush T-shirts, rags, wipes down your toilet. It not only can cause the town system to back up, but it could cause your system to clog up as well. We're seeing very encouraging flow reduction at the pump station during the last two heavy rain events. The relining was a huge success. We did not have any straight up spikes in the flow. We normally would have seen that going straight up to 3,300 gallons per minute, but right now we're down to 2,400, which is basically a 900 gallon per minute reduction. And staff is working with USDA, which we'll talk about later, to complete the application for the pump station. And that's all I have for the manager's report.
Is there any questions for the town manager at this time? Any of the commissioners?
I have two quick ones for Kathy.
Commissioner Burns?
With the leak at Mother Seaton Elementary, was that along the main or anything of major concern since it's right there on Creamery Road? I don't know if that was connected into the wastewater treatment plant directly. Was there anything that would have affected and a positive outcome would have come from the sealing of that?
Where the leak was exactly, I'm not sure. I believe the leak was on their line, not our main line. Okay. But it's had a significant impact on all the way around on water flows and water usage, and then also the flows that's impacted the pump station as well.
Okay, cool. And then one last follow-up real quick. I know Commissioner Davis called me on Saturday afternoon at the end of the fire that occurred on DePaul Street. Was there any complaints, anything registered within the town, or are we in a much better place now with that fire hydrant being opened up and no real issues with any of the water or anything?
Right. So we sent out the alert for a precautionary. As far as I know, and speaking with Ms. Ray and anybody else, we did not receive any complaints at the town office via email or phone call. And staff 100% believes all the work that we've done from fixing the pressure reducing valve to the water line leak repairs to balancing out the pH has had an enormous impact to clean this water, and so that we didn't get any complaints.
Well, that's great news. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else got questions for the town manager?
Yes, sir.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Thank you. Good evening. Hey, Ms. Willits, following up on page 10 of 43, you made note of the wastewater treatment plant having a write-up on incorrect reporting by our lab. Did that relate to water I'm assuming water we're releasing, correct?
No, this was at the wastewater treatment plant, and off the top of my head, I do not remember what the reporting error was. It wasn't anything of any significance. It didn't have anything to do with our results, with our testing, and nothing like that. I think it was a lack of, I believe the lab forgot to note something on the report, and that's what MDE found.
So it was a documented error, but it's not something that we'll be fined for? Is that
correct? You're correct.
Great.
What we have to do, and you'll see it in your consumer confidence report, there will be a note on that. But again, it's not any violations. It wasn't anything that the town didn't do. It was just an oversight at the lab.
Okay, last question regarding the first items, page 13 of 43, you mentioned the bridge project and the water main will be relocated. I'm assuming it will be relocated. Do we have any estimation as to when that might occur regarding perhaps disruption to Silo Hill or Emmett Gardens? Or is that still in the offing, do you feel?
I think that that's still down the road. They don't have a plan as yet, and I have not heard any proposals about moving our water line, and we will, as we had in the past with the bridge project, fight that. That was a design problem on their end. So hopefully they're just looking at a different way to construct the bioswale.
Great, okay, thank you.
Hopefully they'll be able to move the swell
Right.
for the road
Right.
off of the pipe. Commissioner Ritz?
I was just going to touch on what Commissioner Burns brought up regarding the fire there on DePaul Street. So I'm glad he covered that. And as far as I know, that event, and then prior to, I haven't heard anything of brown water complaints. I don't know if anyone else has, or Ms. Willits has anything to share, but it's been pretty quiet on that front, which is great news, I feel.
We had one complaint. It was either last week or the one, and it was isolated, and it was only one house, and nobody else had reported brown water. In fact, even people on social media said that they hadn't gotten any brown water. And from what I talked to the person, as soon as they ran some water, it cleared up immediately. So it was an isolated case. What the cause was, I don't know. But other than that, we have not had anything since, I believe, January.
Yeah, it's great news. At least we have some good news.
Yes.
Kathy, should we talk about the?
So thank you.
Spring
That's
collection?
all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Davis, do you have anything? Commissioner
No, I'm
Davis?
good, thanks.
Okay.
I'm good, thanks.
All righty. Thank you. We'll move on to the town planner's report.
All right, so what I'll do, I spoke with Zach today and just wanted to ask him what he wanted me to highlight. So I'll go over his highlighted areas. Again, he has two reports, one for February, one for March. February, he continued to work on the community development block grant for the ADA curb ramps. He started creating the community legacy grant application for the ramps, continued working on and submitted the Chesapeake Bay Trust grant application for the Green Street conceptual plan, continued work on the census grant as well as the community legacy grant management, two resolutions for the community legacy grant for the ADA curb ramp project, and the authorization for the facade improvements, which I will bring to the board in June. He updated our MS4 yearly report per MDE comments on the previous year, processed one zoning permit, processed one cross connection permit, 2 street closures, 1 street cut, and 1 alteration of infrastructure. Planning Commission, he created the staff memo and provided comments on the Insurance Brokers of Maryland site plan. I believe that's what's on the agenda for the Planning Commission meeting tomorrow night. He attended the Planning Commission meeting on February 24th. Continues to work with Rudders and Duncan on project management. On page 16, he wrote the Maryland 140 sidewalk extension request letter to Frederick County. This request has been added to their sidewalk master plan, which is one of the steps that we had to take. Created a sewer water connection fee payment plan application for the resolution 20-04. Submitted the 2019-2020 biennial forestry conservation report and completed and submitted the annual forestry conservation report. For March, he prepared a policy P 20-03 fee review or review fees policy. Wrote MDOT a follow-up letter regarding the Maryland 140 sidewalk extension. He attended a Maryland General Assembly budgetary hearing on March 9th with the mayor related to stormwater infrastructure improvements. Started working on zoning and subdivision ordinance amendments for grants, pool house mural, census, community legacy, and rain barrel grant management. He applied for the $250,000 through the Maryland General Assembly's 2020 bond initiative for the North Seaton Avenue stormwater management basin retrofit project. Unfortunately, that project was not funded at this time. MS4, he held a rain barrel workshop and worked on the current year MS4 report. He processed 6 zoning applications, 1 cross-connection permit, and then under miscellaneous, he met with the office manager and Seaton Center representatives regarding the 2020 census. That's all he has.
Any questions for the town manager?
Just quick, I know Zach's not there, but I know a lot of people are trying to gear up for and trying to prepare ahead for the possibility of businesses reopening. There's a lot of talk about restaurants having outdoor seating to allow them to open possibly earlier to kind of alleviate some of the issues inside. Do we have any formal rules, anything in writing about outdoor seating or what is required, or is there going to be special permits needed from the town or anything of that nature?
I'll have to look into it. I know there are provisions in the code that do allow for some outdoor seating, but I'll have to get with Zach to work on that, and that's certainly something that we can start looking into.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Sorry, I'll let Mr. Ritz go. He spoke up.
Mr. Ritz.
Well, thanks. Mine's, I appreciate that. Mine's less of a question, more of a suggestion or favored, as so to speak. I know that there's some going on per Zach's report regarding the North Seaton Avenue Green Project. Just wondering if there could be any formal presentation, explanation, more details sooner rather than later as to what exactly that is. I'm interested myself as a North Seaton resident. Perhaps Commissioner Sweeney is as well. I know some of my neighbors were questioning it, and I don't really know the details. So I'm sure it's forthcoming, but if there's any chance that that could present something to us sooner, that would be ideal.
Okay,
I'm curious, just curious, as to what it is.
Right. Yeah, we can certainly do that and maybe shoot for June on that. Hopefully he's back at that time. If not, at least I can give you some sort of information, and I know he has a PowerPoint on it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to do with the water that comes out at the end? Is that what it's for?
No, this is basically, it's a conceptual, it's adding, from what I understand, it's going to add landscape, trees, new sidewalk, things of that nature to make it green, like green friendly.
Isn't it to capture rainwater? Isn't that the big issue?
That too, and it's what the hope is to work in combination of not only replacing the water line on North Seaton, as you know, we've applied for MD funding for that. Then you have this green street, but then you also have the stormwater problem down at the bridge. So they kind of all three work together.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yes, sir. Thank you. just, I realize, obviously, you're not Mr. Golden, but again, I'm on page 15 of 43. For the grants, first of all, I hope I'm not too loud. For the grants, the Frederick County Arts Council Pool House Grant, and then the 2020 Census Grant, we expect those to be over by 2021. Is that correct? Like the management of those?
The pool house one, I don't know how long that grant lasts for. The census grant has been extended due to the census itself has now been extended. I would anticipate them being wrapped up before the end of the year.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Commissioner comments, Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, sir. First and foremost, thank you to staff for arranging this unique means of us addressing and being stewards for the community. My hope is everybody in our community is COVID safe. I want to emphasize a lot of people have contacted me about, worrying, but not overly worrying about the cases in the community. But the breakdown is by zip code, so it's the full region. It's not the municipality of the town alone. So though there are 14 cases now reported, it's for the bigger picture. It's not just singularly for just the town. I was recently contacted by Senator Cardin's office regarding trails linking communities. It was interesting because it sort of lost energy until this COVID event. And the contact said, we're noticing people are interested in trails again. So I was intrigued by that. They've mentioned the new infrastructure legislation that is being formed right now. So maybe this is an inroad for our community to link with others regarding pedestrian ways to Frederick and to the canal and to Gettysburg, which I know that we've had some conversations, informally before. The other piece is, again, I want to emphasize that we need to be patient with what's going on and let the science drive this. It is absolutely frustrating for business owners. I hear that firsthand. My hope is that we can move forward quickly as we phase into getting things moving forward, but it's the science that is our guardrail. And the last piece is I've been contacted again by about our trails that exist on the mountain or did exist on the mountain. If you've heard folks talk about parts of the Red Trail where the forestry work occurred, it has been completely obliterated, to quote someone in one of their emails. I've been up there a few times at the request of Mr. Golden. Conversations are ongoing with the mayor, Mr. Golden, staff, and myself, and hopefully we can move forward in a reasonable amount of time. But it's not a dead issue, and I hope to have something for our community soon in discussions with the mayor and with staff. So thank you. That's it for me. And be safe, everybody, please.
Any other questions? Commissioners? Commissioner Ritz.
Oh, yes, thank you. There's too many to list, but just to name a few, thanks to all who are at the forefront of this pandemic. Kudos to the mayor for his weekly presentations and to Commissioner Davis for sitting in a majority of those. I know Commissioner Burns did last Thursday. I'm throwing it out there. I'm available myself if need be, if you'd like me to attend as well. I'm blessed to be able to telework for my job. I've been at home now since the beginning of March, and I can slip away for a little bit on Thursday. No problem.
Very good.
Thank you to the Vigilant Host Company and Commissioner Davis for all they've done for our community. To DJ Fire, Gene, for riding through the streets and providing us some fun times that one Saturday night. In fact, I spoke to him and he said he had so much fun, he'd love to do it again. I was thinking, maybe post-COVID party. Let's do it again, celebrate this thing being over. To our area restaurants and to Jubilee for still being there for us during this whole ordeal. And to the Country Kitchen down in Thurmont for the awesome job that they've been doing, providing meals for our kids and families. So thank you to all. I know I didn't touch on everybody, just wanted to name a few. So thank you for everybody for all you've done during this.
Thank you, Commissioner Ritz. Commissioner Burns?
I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody in the community. They're doing an incredible job of, staying strong and, really supporting local businesses. And, I've seen a lot of people getting out and really enjoying some of this nicer weather when it is nice, really taking advantage of the trails around the park, the different sidewalks around town, people out walking, jogging, riding their bikes and things of that nature. Real big thanks to the Vigilant Hose Company. My wife and I got the opportunity to help serve Easter meals with them. I know between the two of us, we delivered, I think, 80 meals. And I know Commissioner Davis and the rest of the fire company did probably over 300 meals that day, which is a great thing for the community. It's been going well, and hopefully we can put this all behind us and have these in-face meetings sooner rather than later and get back to some normalcy in our lives.
Well, thank you. Commissioner Davis?
Thanks. Well, all the stuff that we've been providing to the community over the last several months, most of that goes to Jubilee and Mr. and Mrs. Howard, and a young lady by the name of Kathy Miller, who used to live here in Emmitsburg, and now she is down in North Carolina, who sent us a check to take care of the community. So all the things that have been happening is we can thank them for that, and we couldn't have done it without them. We still have supplies of essential needs at the firehouse. So if anyone needs any of your toilet paper, things like that, give us a call. We still have a good supply there. We actually just got a call today for that. And I guess on the good news, we heard from Thurmont Little League, and they are trying desperately to have a Little League season. As you all have probably seen on the news, the World Series has been canceled, and so the official Little League season has been postponed. But Thurmont is going to continue to try and run something June through August. They want to try to have something for the children that this is their last year, and they want to make sure they at least get to play some ball. So we'll keep you posted on that, and that's all I got.
Well, thank you. I also like to thank the first responders and all the people in Jubilee also, and everybody's been helping with this crisis that we're having. The fire company, a lot of people don't know that most time, some days the fire company goes out 4 or 5 times a day, and they give up everything to go do that on their own volunteer basis. So, without the fire company and the ambulance company and all the other clubs and stuff we have, a lot of this stuff don't get done. So I thank everybody, and I hope everybody stays safe. I have a little bit of good news too. We are not canceling Community Day. We are keeping Community Day as scheduled, unless the governor tells us we cannot have it. We will be having Community Day. The fireworks has already been booked. We had a meeting tonight. Everything is on schedule except for the car show, but we're planning on having the whole event for that day, including the parade. It would be nice to get the first responders, if we can get all the local fire companies. Commissioner Davis, if we can get some help with that, but maybe getting at least one from each fire company here to maybe we'll give them a certificate or a plaque for the work they've done through this crisis. So we're still working on that. I'll have more meetings coming up for the Heritage Day, but as of now, we are not canceling that. We need something for our community, and the community in our community day will bring everybody back together. Hopefully everything will open up before the end of June. Thank you. Mayor comments. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. It has been, when I termed it going into, I could, Dickens, it's the best of times, the worst of times going in. And then I was reading G.K. Chesterton. I've had a little extra time to read, and he said it's like trying to shoot two birds with one stone when they're flying in opposite directions. And to open up, stay the health issues, but we're trying to do the best we can, and I want to thank everybody for supporting the restaurants. And also, I made a note last week of bringing up at Mr. Hillman's request the auto repair shops, and sure enough, I needed somebody to charge my battery, and he said, wow, we just had a surge of people. It's a great time to get your car repaired where you got a little extra time, there are no lines, and thank you for supporting the businesses that are open. We are still under stay-at-home, face mask in public, social distancing requests. They are still in place. There are websites to go to, and I think we've put them up many times, and if I rattled them off here, you wouldn't get them, but the town office, again, will be closed to the public, and that will probably be through June 1st. And we have to have at least 2 weeks of declining cases, and last night listening to our good Governor Hogan, it didn't sound like we were there. It seemed like they were kind of on the rise. So that's our plan. If we can change on about a week's notice to get the staff organized, but right now the town office to the public will be closed until June 1st. We were trying to have that next week, but we have to have that 2 weeks of spacing, and it'll move the governor along. The pool, we have a contract. The inside of the pool, it looks fantastic. It still needs to be finished out a little bit and cleaned up, but it's very private. It looks smaller when you go into each of the bath areas, but they're very private, and it's a very safe, wonderful improvement to our property there. We don't know when it's going to open, and Ms. Willis, do you have anything? We're going to shoot for Memorial Day weekend, but that, again, we have to wait to stay at home. It's up to the governor, but do you have anything to make?
So conversations with the pool management company, they anticipate best case scenario, we open the pool mid-June, which is about where we would open it normally for full time. Worst case, it's the first part of July. We still have the contract with them. At the next meeting, I'll bring an addendum to you where they will still continue to do the pool maintenance, fill the pool, and get it ready. And then when we say go, they just need 2 weeks' notice to get it open. So hopefully if Governor Hogan releases everything at the end of May, by the end of May, we should be up and running by mid-June.
Of course, that's a great disappointment not to have our pool open Memorial Day. We worked so hard to make that a very special place for our community. I want to compliment our wonderful commissioners for wearing their yellow 2020 census. We're at 61% compared to 51% this time in 2010. Excuse me. And it's important to remember that for every person that registers, we get $18,000 over 10 years for that one person. If you multiply that times 3,000, I think it comes up to about $5.4 million. It's a lot of money, and we need everybody to register. And the Cliff 39th Community Day, I look forward to it. It'll be a wonderful event for our community. The food bank, their supplies are up. I haven't had my weekly check, but there was no run on our food bank, and the demand seems to be getting up to the pre-COVID-19 demand. Baseball, congratulations, Frank, on that. Vigilant Hose, as you know, they've been picking up all the fallen pieces of this whole thing, and I want to thank them very much for their service. We have a very informal, formal response team of Commissioner Davis, myself, and Town Manager Willits that have been working on this, and we're going to carry this over. So there may be another shock in the fall. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we're going to keep it there. I have a list of other things I've done over the last 2 months. It's on page 19 of the report, but I won't take your time there. But thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you. Any questions before we move on to administrative business? Or public comment? Commissioners?
Yes, sir.
Hearing
No,
none?
sir.
Okay. Public comment, Matty, we don't have any? No call-ins? Okay. Okay, administrative business? Discussion related to the traffic pattern at the square? Commissioner Ritz?
Sure. No, this was just to follow up with what I brought up. I can't even remember when, but I know back in the day when we were presented with plans by the SHA at the town office, it was determined. It was presented to us at that time, you know, with the whole redesign of the square, that the traffic pattern would be altered in such a way that it would alternate all four ways. Each side, north, south, east, and west, would have their chance to go, and then there would be an all pedestrian cross. And then I know that those plans were altered. They decided to keep east and west open as it is now. I know that the North Seaton now, coming off of North Seaton, is first rather than South Seaton after the Main Street light changes. That much happened. And there were other details too, like, you know, the gateways in the other ends of town, and that never came to fruition. So plans are presented, plans change. I get that. And I know that there was an SHA investigation, traffic study, if you will, as to the actual traffic pattern. And it was decided that what was initially presented wouldn't be feasible. I would like that to be revisited, even though we've been told no, and probably have been told multiple occasions. If there was a way we could collectively ask this to be altered, knowing some repercussions that there might be some traffic backup. We already experienced traffic backup, but it's not so much of a convenience factor. I'm looking at it as more of a safety issue. Right now, with the way the square is designed, we can't. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Everything okay?
Commissioner Ritz?
Everybody hear me? Hold on a minute.
What happened? You drop your phone?
No, I lost my Bluetooth.
Are you there?
Yes,
Yes.
we're here.
Sorry, for some reason I'm sitting in my car, so I'm not at home, so my Bluetooth just went out. So I don't know how much you heard. Safety. I was talking about safety.
Yes.
Yes.
We heard that, yes.
Okay, am I connected? Can you hear me clearly, or is my Bluetooth not working now?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Okay,
Commissioner-
great. So it's, you know, with cars going around illegally, you know, if somebody is on Main Street and they're turning left, impatient drivers like to whip around. There's really, well, it's illegal, but there's really not that much space. They can just eke it out just enough. So I would like to do something where we look at this as more of a safety thing. I don't know if everybody's on board with this, maybe not. But if we were collectively then to present this to the SHA, I don't know what steps would be taken, but that's all I have right now. I might chime in a little bit. So I'm leaving it open now for discussion.
I agree with you fully, Joe. Friday nights, especially Thursday, Friday nights, you can sit through 6, 7, 8 lights coming up East Main Street. And all it takes is that one guy that wants to make that left-hand turn. And you know, so they can sit there all day and count the cars and do whatever they want and come up with this, whatever study they come up with. But tell them to come up here and set on a Friday night at 5 o'clock and set in that traffic line.
I agree with both Frank and Joe. And I think not only that, it's a safety concern is as you have people that are making that left-hand turn, either eastbound or westbound on North and South Seaton Avenue, the people that decide to go around those cars, the roadway was not designed for that to be a passing and or turning lane. And I think the issue that we're having is you have a lot of people, especially now with everything going on, people are out, on the sidewalks trying to cross the street. And it does get awfully close if people are standing on the curb edge or anything of that nature with people. The last thing we want to see is anybody get struck by a car by someone trying to whip around. And, a lot of people are trying to run that light or things of that nature as well. So I'm not sure that State Highway will agree to extend those curbs out to prevent a turning lane, or if you're going to see people try to jump those curbs because they don't know it's there, or as it's been suggested, to try to make it four different signals. But there's definitely something that's going to need to be done at some point in the future.
Well, if you also,
another thing.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, and I was just going to say another thing too. Now, I have not timed it, but it seems to me there's a lot of inconsistency too with the pedestrian crossing. The timing, I know obviously somebody can push a button to, make it so they can cross sooner, but if we had that like all pedestrian cross after all the traffic, if that was part of the equation too, maybe it's just me, it's just in my head, but to me, it seems like there's a bit of inconsistency, even just like crossing one direction. It seems to be like a longer time frame or a shorter time frame at sometimes. Before the light goes green, like the pedestrian's going across, and then all of a sudden traffic can go and people can be impatient, sometimes jump it, it's like, don't want any accidents. And again, thinking safety, that's my main thing. And I know we presented to the SHA about that bridge up at Flat Run at the north end of town near Northgate. Once we mentioned, hey, it's a safety issue, people trying to cross this thing, it's crumbling down, like that seemed to click, sadly, but in a way that's good too. But safety seems to be a better selling point.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing we can add to that also is people trying to take shortcuts through the alleys. And during that time frame of 3 to 6 p.m. is when we have all the accidents at East Lincoln and South Seaton Avenue. And that's probably coming from that extra traffic.
So I think that's our starting point if you want to make that argument. And here's where I'll jump in. I'll kind of go in a few different directions. When the Square project was being vetted, one of the items for consideration was the number of parking spaces on the square in relationship to the businesses. And they weighed in adamantly. They didn't want to lose any spaces, despite the fact that we tried to accommodate. The other piece is the question of signalizing, if I'm using the term correctly, having a left turn signal for the existing single lanes. That could be the thing that solves our problem potentially. But sorry, circling back to the safety piece, there are two things for consideration. Obviously, we all want everyone to be safe, especially our pedestrians. And I think, honestly, having the new sidewalks in place and having this event that's happened, a lot of people have been introduced to walking who have never walked around town before. And as Commissioner Burns acknowledged, I think they're enjoying it. And I think there's a value to that. I mean, we have made a goal of making this a walkable community and a rideable community. And I think we're seeing some fruits in this really, testing time period. But where we're going to have the most success if we want to pursue this is quantifying the actual events that occur where there's property damage to vehicles. Like if we can quantify the accidents, the fender benders, the infractions, I think that gives us a persuasive argument. If the Vigilant Hose Company finds that their response time is hindered by the square, then again, that might be a persuasive argument for signals there. I think the concern would be, again, with the folks who have businesses on and near the square, they might lose parking. And here's the thing that it's reverse logic. It's counterintuitive. The traffic statistics for intersections that are more complicated have lower incidence of accidents than your standard plus sign, like north-south, plus sign intersection. And it's the complexity of the intersection. And I'm not saying this from my observation, but some research that I've done and talking to traffic engineers related to the merge actually near the Doughboy. And there's a lot of documentation that supports that when an individual comes to a complicated intersection, it just triggers more alertness on their part. Now, people being in a rush and the other mitigating factors on the square, that is different. So I think if we're going to push for that change, it's the numbers of events that will help drive that issue. No pun intended. Just a thought, or some thoughts.
Can I ask a question, Commissioner O'Donnell? You mentioned we would lose parking.
No, I'm saying there would be a possibility of that if we opt to have a turn lane, and that's what the discussion was.
I think we can. I agree. I don't think we. I agree. We can't have a turn lane, and that's why I'm saying alternating the pattern so only westbound can go. Because then obviously they could turn left, they could go straight. There's no waiting for oncoming traffic. It could be a green light with a green left arrow at the same time. It would.
Right.
There'd be no need for a turn lane. That's not how I foresee it, unless
I just wasn't
someone else saw something else. So instead of east and west going at the same time, it would be only west and then only east. However they decide to do it.
Gotcha.
Similar to what North and South Seaton do.
Right. Good. Yeah. And again, I would hate to lose that parking, but at the same time, if the outcome is safety, if it's found to be safest, then maybe that's something we consider, or push the state to consider, I should say.
Okay. No, because you're right. Quantifying it, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll come back with their traffic studies. Between this date and this date, there's this many vehicles, and it doesn't justify the need for altering the traffic lights. So just fight fire with fire.
Correct.
So to speak.
Yes.
Any other feedback? I also seen the traffic. If they could come up here during the wintertime when ski season is, they would see that you cannot even get through. The traffic's back clear up to Pennsylvania. And that's how we should have the other altered pattern. We've been pushing that since I can remember being on the council, and for some reason why the state, we can't get them to change it. So I don't know what else we can do to do that. If somebody can have any push.
So what I would recommend is, as we've done with the 140 sidewalk extension and some other things, is just a formal letter. If since this is admin business, if you want to have the mayor do a letter to SHA, and we can send it to certain representatives at State Highway, see what kind of response we get, and then it could be passed on to our delegates. The problem with doing it now, as we all know, with the COVID-19, we don't have a high volume of traffic. If they come up here now and look at it, they're not going to get the same result, and they're not going to approve it. The conversation that I had with SHA a couple years ago over this is their concern was the amount of traffic that will back up either eastbound or westbound as the other side is going. I do not believe at the time that I requested it a couple years ago, I don't believe they did a formal study. It was based off of, I believe, one person's observations. I'm not so sure your traffic collisions are going to support, or not going to give it as much support as the articulation of the hazards of people passing on the right-hand side, with your curbs extending out for pedestrians. I think that's probably the stronger argument, as well as the amount of violations the deputies have written for stop signs, and that's easily accessible through them and their police reports. So we can prepare something. I think the timing is of the essence of when we send it, to get the most bang out of it.
Commissioner Ritz?
No, I agree. Yeah, and I remember. Now I remember. It was back last fall when I first started discussing this, and then that's when the brown water hit it. So put that on the back burner. And now we got this going on with COVID-19. So just wanted to get the ball rolling. Everybody thinking about this, and I do thank everybody for showing their support with my suggestion this evening. So thank you. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not like it's going to happen tomorrow. I get that. So we need to prepare on our end.
Yeah, so we can definitely get, what I do is have Zach start working on a letter so that it's ready to go, as things start to let loose, and then we can send it, see what kind of response we get. And if then we're not satisfied with the response, then it can be forwarded to either somebody at the state office for SHA and or your delegates.
Can we also sign off on the letter? All the
I
commissioners?
think
when the mayor
we've
does?
done, well, what we've done is had the mayor and the president of the board typically sign off if it's a joint letter.
Okay.
And we can do it however
Good.
the board wants.
Any other discussion?
Whatever's the most effective way. Yeah.
Right,
Well, doesn't hurt to try.
exactly.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Alrighty, any other discussion on this? We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. We had the Board of Appeals, 3 terms, or 3-term reappointment for Ronald Lind, is it Lindy? Lind?
And
And reappointment for Wayne Slaughter as an alternate.
just need consent on that one.
We need the consent of the board. You need just a consent. We don't have anything. We only need the consent. All in favor of the reappointments, please say aye.
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 I abstain, and just for transparency, Ronald Lind is my uncle. Small town, you know how it goes.
That's fine. All in favor is 4-1. Abstain. 4
For Mr. Lynn.
yeas, and for Mr. Lynn is, and then everybody's okay with Mr. Slaughter, so that'd be 5-0.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Aye. Yes.
Second consent is Ethics Commission. Reappointment of Tim Clark, or appointment of Tim Clark to, they don't have a set term.
Right, Ethics Commission is no term limit.
Okay. Did they have to be, we have to make a motion, or just consent?
This is consent also.
Okay. Alrighty. Is everybody okay with Mr. Clark being appointed to the Ethics Commission?
Yes.
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 I
Yes.
guess so.
Okay, 5-0. Community Heritage Day, free pool day, for Saturday for our community day. We always had the pool open free for the community that day. I think we really need it for this year. Hopefully we'll be able to have community day, or pushing for it. But I need consent from the commissioners to allow the pool to be open free for that day.
Absolutely, yes.
Yep, I'm good.
Yes.
5-0. I'm
sir.
for that too, please. Alrighty. Treasurer report.
Yes,
Commissioner
sir. Thank you.
O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The cash balance forward as of March 1st, 2020, $4,485,313. Deposits were in the amount of $488,452. Withdrawals were in the amount of $849,966. The operating balance forward is $4,123,799. Below are the top 10 check amounts. And I will say this, in the reduced staffing, my hat is off to staff for having prepared the checks in a professional way. We ran into the most minor of glitches, and in my mind, it's the first time, and I'd argue maybe in 300 checks that I've signed through the course of this, or however many, this is the first minor bump I've run into. So I think that staff is doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Got the second one for April also.
Oh, Commissioner O'Donnell, there's another one for April. That was March.
Correct. Okay, so here we go. Cash activity as of April 28th, 2020, $4,123,799 is cash balance as of April 1st, 2020. Deposits were in the sum of $151,608. Withdrawals were in the sum of $310,445. And the operating balance forward is $3,964,962. And again, the top 10 checks of last month are here for your consideration for review.
Any questions on the Treasury Report?
Yeah, I just
Yes,
got
sir.
one.
I have
because-
one.
Oh, go ahead. I guess there's a couple. Go ahead.
Okay, Commissioner Davis, you're first.
Okay. I asked this question before, and I guess now that I see that we're finally under $5 million, when does a red flag pop up to say, hey, we have to pay attention, there's something happening, or does our balance usually drop this time of the fiscal year?
So the reason you see the balance dropping, because I asked the same question, it's because we did not send out any water, sewer, or trash bills at the end of March. So normally by now, we would have received 75% of the revenue related to water, sewer, and trash billing. That's why you see the significant drop, like not necessarily a significant drop, but that's why you're seeing a drop steadily over the last 2 months, as well as we are not getting any revenue in from parking meters, ball fields, not ball fields, but park pavilions. So the revenues dropped off a little bit. I think during the audit, I presented how many months of rainy day we have, and off the top of my head, I apologize, I don't remember what that number is. But once we start billing for water and sewer, and once the revenues start coming back in, you'll see that number jump up again. We also have money laid out that we are waiting on grant reimbursements for as well. So right now, we're not concerned.
Okay, I just want to make sure we had enough to pay you the rest of the year, that's all. Thanks.
Very important.
Okay, who do we have next? Commissioner Burns? Did you have a question?
No. Well, maybe
No,
Dave.
it was
This is
no, it was not me.
Okay,
Joe,
Commissioner
I have-
Rance. Sorry, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
It's my usual question. I noticed on both months in the top 10 there were no checks written for the solar field. Were they just not in the top 10, or do we have some solar fields down during that time?
So I read your mind so that I'd be prepared for that question tonight, because I noticed.
See,
it as
I'm
well.
predictable.
You are, at least on that one. So I checked, and it's just the timing of the invoice. Our last invoice came through on April 21st. So that's why you just don't see it on the cash activity report. However, both fields are up and running, and both were roughly around $10,000.
So we'll see it next month then.
Yes.
Invoice timing. Okay, great.
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody
Mr. Sweeney.
else?
Yes, sir. Mr. Sweeney, may I ask a
Commissioner
question?
O'Donnell, yes.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Willits, I was called by a resident about paying their water, sewer, and trash bill. I explained to them what the decision was regarding delaying that to accommodate the community. But the question was, can they still pay it now if they're able, and how can they find out the sum which they owe?
So you can basically pay your water, sewer, and trash bill at any time. However, we weren't encouraging that in hopes of being up and running, full staff on May 11th. As you can imagine, once the water bills go out, we have an influx of mail, phone calls, people wanting to pay their bill, and with limited office staffing of just 3 people at a time, I was trying not to overwhelm our staff. So if they want to pay their water bill now, basically what they need to do is call in and ask for Reese Fryer. She is back in the office processing the bills. If they can possibly wait till the May 18th when these bills go out, we would greatly appreciate that. But if they do want to pay, they need to contact Reese.
Terrific. Okay, and she can provide them the sum. Can this also be done separately online without making a call to the office?
From what I understand, if you have ever registered through the online pay on our website, if you log into your account, it will give you, nope, that was not added yet. So no, there's no way of doing it because we have not even processed all the water bills yet. So I don't know if she'd have a total for anybody right now. If they want to pay, what I would recommend doing, if they absolutely have to pay, they can base it off of what their normal usage is.
Okay.
And then it would either be, if they paid more, there'd be a credit, or they'd still get a bill if it wasn't enough.
The reason we're not doing the online, I guess, pay, like presenting the pay amount online, is that a fee that vendor charges us?
No, we just haven't. Reese just started back in the office today, and she's the one that processes all the water bills. So we conducted our water bill readings in March. So she just has to go back and enter everything into the system and generate the bills. That's why we don't have exact amounts for anybody.
Okay.
Is that it,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
O'Donnell?
That's it. Yes. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move on. Planning Commission report. Commissioner Ritz?
Yeah, the Planning Commission has not met since February 24th, and I already reported on that meeting during our March meeting. And as Ms. Willis correctly identified, we do meet tomorrow night regarding the Insurance Brokers of Maryland site plan. So I will have more details in the outcome of that meeting at our June town meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the regular agenda items.
The budget?
The initial presentation of